Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about how, in any sort of, I suppose, a business setting, really, but or a work setting, I guess, how you can determine if someone is a potential threat to your position or situation, whether they're your friend, and whether or not sucking up is an indication of how non-threatening they might be. Now, something that sort of came up recently, I was looking at a few things online about the 1930s and stumbled across a vid that was talked about some of the professional assassins that were going around in the 1930s, working for various governments. Some were like freelance that would work for the biggest fee. Others were employed by the Soviets or any of the Europeans, or I suppose anywhere really. They all seem to employ assassins to assassinate. Now, what got me was they ran through a few pictures of people who've been dead for a long, long time, a few photographs, and I was surprised at how slightly built, how small, how short, how almost waif-like a lot of these assassins were. You sort of, when you think of an assassin, you've got the idea of some huge a beefed up dude on has been doing steroids, spends all his time in the gym, and he bites the heads off people and things like that, and he's 6'10" and he's 500 pounds, not an ounce of fat on him, and so on. It's those people would stick out like a sore thumb. So assassins are actually the complete and total opposite of that. So one guy I'm thinking of now, he's got to be like 5'1", 5'2", very slightly built, bisexual, with this childlike sort of, he's got this sort of innocent, waif-like, childlike face. And yet he was one of the most prominent assassins in Europe in the day. And you'd never think it. But there you go. Now, he was very good at appearing to be non-threatening. And he apparently was an expert at flattery. So he was able to sort of get close to the people that he needed to assassinate, or was being paid to assassinate. And they would think little skinny, scrawny, self-effacing dude like that, he's no threat to anybody. And then by the time they realized that wasn't true, they'd already sort of drunk the poison or got the knife between the ribs or something like that. But this was apparently, and when you think about it, it's the way to go. Why no one's going to accept some huge muscled up dude that could tear you apart with his bare hands. No one's going to think that guy's non-threatening. But the little scrawny, skinny dude with the childlike face and him, sure, he's going to be one that can get close to the target and finish the job. Apparently, he was very well paid for it. But no one ever suspected or saw it coming from most of these assassins, which goes back to the days of the Roman, the Roman Empire, particularly the early sort of 1st century AD. There was this it was a profession, professional poisoners, and they were sort of masterful at being able to put together poisonous concoctions that would kill somebody, but it wouldn't look like it was poison. So it could be argued they died of natural causes, and or maybe the food didn't agree with them, or something like that. But so it was considered a serious profession. And what they would do, they would work in cahoots with people that would ingratiate themselves and get close to the target, so that they were fully trusted, and then would, obviously with great duplicity, would then administer the poison into food or drink or something like that. But they would pretend to be your best friend. Now, coming back to the sort of the suck-ups, I was caught completely by surprise, quite some years ago now. There was a guy who was like the I suppose you'd call him like one of the technical support manager type role. And I thought we always got on, quite well. I thought he overdid the sucking up bit. Like any time I'd appear, he'd say, "Oh, hi boss, anything you want me to do, boss?" So I thought he overdid that, and I'd asked him a couple of times to, do you mind toning that down? But I didn't think there's anything bad between us, and he got pay rises and various privileges, and travelled and that sort of thing. So his career certainly wasn't restricted, and he did a pretty good job, I thought. And there was a lot of give and take. He wanted to sort of leave early and go and do some things, and I go, yeah, okay, no, not a problem. But he was always work other hours later, and so I thought it was a pretty good professional relationship. We were different people, so we didn't hang around outside of work or anything. So. But when some years later he moved on. He wanted to move away somewhere, and I think he'd inherited a house or something like that, and he wanted to move away. So it's fine. I wished him well, and he was fully paid up everything he was owed, and I made a point of take him out for dinner and thanking him for his work. And so I thought it was fine. But I got a call from a would-be employer, and the employer opened the thing, I'm calling for reference check about so-and-so, and he said, sort of in a funny sort of tone, he said, "Did you like him?" But it was said in such a way that it was sort of a question that it was loaded and had wider ramifications. And yeah, I didn't dislike him. We weren't buddies or anything, but yeah. And then this guy as well, look, I think I need to tell you, he hasn't got a single good word to say about you. He did nothing but trash you. And we were quite surprised that he'd worked there for that long, and that sort of thing. And I was shocked. about it because the amount of sucking up this guy did. But in balance, though, it's not surprising. My experience is the people that do the ingratiating and the sucking up tend to be the least reliable. Either they're so insecure that they think they have to do it just to keep their job, or they want to they think plying deceit is just sort of normal business, or they're no good at their jobs, and they're frightened that if they're judged on performance that they'll be in trouble, so they try and create this sort of buffer, if you like, in between. So I found, and I learned over the years that people that overplayed that would be unreliable, and even possibly treacherous in some way. So I tended to discourage that and try and keep them at arm's length. Coming back to the assassin thing, I didn't want them getting too close. So I don't know what your thoughts are. I'd be interested in sort of seeing what your thoughts are on this. But I've come after years of experience. I've come away with the flatterers and the ingratiators, the sucker uppers, the brown noses, the dirty kneers, call it what you want. People trying to crawl up your ass, and so on. That those people are not desirable people to have around generally. I mean, obviously there'll be exceptions based on this balance of mathematical probability. And again, some people are really insecure, just think they need to do it. But as one guy sort of said, as he was talking about another party, he said he was at the place was so chaotic that the only way to survive was to suck up. So in his cognizance, so he did that, but he bitterly resented having to do it, and so he was always looking to pay back the boss for making him prostrate himself and humiliate himself in these rituals of self-effacement. So I noticed that too in say interview situations, where if the interview panel is just so brutal that the only way the applicant's going to get the job is by rolling on the floor like a dog and putting their legs in the air, then they may do that to get the job. They've got a mortgage or whatever to pay. but they will bitterly resent or be looking to pay back later on. So I've never liked putting people in a position where they think they need to do that or want to do it, as I think in the overall scheme of things, it boomerangs back at some point. But again, I'll be interested in seeing your comments below. You've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.